everybody. I'm Liz Shakti Wyld.
And I'm Margaret Burns.
Welcome to Shamanic Woo Podcast numbers something. 5, 6, 7. I don't know. Wait, is that a kid's thing? 5, 6? Yeah. Sorry. Side note, I have a niece and nephew. They do that. So I wanted to welcome our very special guest, Tanya Tonneson. I've known Tanya for a while. Tanya is a multidimensional healer, teacher, and guide who helps people reconnect with their spiritual roots, ancestral wisdom, and the living intelligence of nature. Through pilgramage, land-based practices, and healing work, she supports people in remembering who they are, why they are here, and their interconnection to something greater than themselves. Beautiful. Tanya, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah. Tanya, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, where you live, and also, what brought you to this work?
Okay, I'm currently in Central California, and I feel like it's such a huge question, like the how did you come to this work? But I've just been feeling a desire to, just like have talks like this and connect with, other women that are doing like shamanic work, because I feel like a lot of the it's been changing a little bit over the last 10 years, but it's been mostly like a male dominated, like people, when they think of shamanic healing, they tend to think of like a shaman, in South America or just like there's certain like images of what it is.
Like the Indian
So
dude who's like painted and
yeah. Like there's just, ideas.
no.
And I feel like I don't know. I just feel like it's important for us to like come together, and I feel like shamanic initiation can be kind of like a lonely path a little bit. So when I heard that you guys were doing this, I was just like I want to do it. I want to come on and just like there's so many things that we could talk about, but um, I feel like this kind of work. I don't know if you guys feel like this, but I feel like it almost kind of chooses you. It's like
Oh yeah.
like in a lot of ways, I feel like I didn't really have a choice, even though, I'm sure I did. I made choices along the way. Um, but I feel like I was always really interested in spirit and, Eastern spirituality, like at a really young age. And I think some of that, I believe in past lives too. So I feel like some of it is kind of like sometimes you come in and you remember certain things. But I kind of just, went with where it guided me. And then I learned from like a bunch of different teachers and, did a bunch of different modalities. And now I feel like I'm kind of at the point where I'm almost like not wanting to learn anymore. Like I'm just wanting to, like be and gather with people, and I am kind of focusing a little bit on partnering with horses to do healing work. So that's kind of like one of my main focuses right now. So I thought it would be neat to kind of, talk about that a little bit.
I love that.
Yeah, we want to hear about it.
Oh, yeah. So I've been on a horse kick for the last year or so. Not like full on, but just like I went to Colorado, I think I told you, and I was like, I need to ride a horse. I know it's not the same thing, but I just wanted to connect with them and like talk to horse people. And then some shamans that I think I introduced you to, or well, to their friends, Tanya. I met those people and they do some similar things to what you do, or they help take care of the horses at a place where someone does something similar. I don't know, you might know more about it, but they were definitely horse people, a couple who lives in Colorado, and it was really cool. And they were like, come on out, come visit, all these things. And that's where you're going to be doing your upcoming workshop, which is so cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm so excited that I love that I made that connection through you too, because it felt very like synchronistic. So that was Yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah, and they're really, really cool people. I love them. Well,
Hmm.
awesome. So, Tanya, I have some questions here. So tell me more about shamanic connection and why does it matter now? Like, why is it important?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like, sort of like where humanity is, just like on our evolution journey or what have you. It's like, I mean, it's really obvious that, we're in the age of information right now. So it's like, we're just like constantly being bombarded by, taking in so much. And then that also, I feel like, kind of goes along with sort of like what we're trying to move away from of being mostly just like extraction. We're extracting from the earth a lot more than we're giving back, obviously, like in the mainstream.
Yep.
Um, and so I feel like, that's where we're kind of out of balance. And I feel like even if we can start doing that in small ways, I feel like it's almost like just a little bit of a perception shift. Like even I feel like, like when you do shamanic work, it's like even just like that little bit of like shifting, um, into the right brain, like,
Mhm.
more into the right brain than the left brain. It's like it can seem subtle, but it's actually like a big deal. And that's, and that's how like, a lot of shamans like went into like altered states, to do like their healing work and stuff. So I feel like kind of what I've been noticing or like the guidance that I've been getting is just gathering with people and supporting groups and making that subtle shift or like learning how to yeah, just like give back in subtle ways. I mean, it can be big too, but I feel like it's like the little day to day, and especially if you're working with like plant medicine and, I do like animal communication and stuff too. And it's like if I'm working with a plant or an animal, um, there's just like, there's always a way that I connect to make sure that that is like a reciprocal exchange.
Mhm.
And that's very big too in the horse therapy world right now because horse therapy is becoming a lot more common and people are doing a lot of different modalities with it and not everybody, even though their intentions are good, the intentions are good, but they're not in the way I'm seeing it, they're not doing it in reciprocal enough way, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, connection to the land and to plants and to the creatures around us that inhabit the earth. It's important to be a part of that synchronous biorhythm if you're doing, especially if you're doing shamanic work, because it needs to ground. It needs to ground from other dimensions or from way up high. And I agree. I feel like shamanic work is it's so ethereal and sensitive and subtle. But at the same time, it's what creates the shift, especially for people who have never really experienced ever any kind of dream state or let's say like in their body shift, like from a space of inner knowing that they can feel the embodied like moment of that happening.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think it's so interesting, this topic, because, you know, all three of us are teachers as
Mhm.
well. And I feel like a lot of times I feel that when I'm teaching, and also if I'm doing any kind of sound therapy,
Mhm.
playing instruments, it's like you just kind of drop in.
Yeah.
Um, and I think that that's, it's like a practice of trust, right? Extreme
Yeah.
trust.
Mm.
I also think it's a function of what makes us shamanic teachers. It's like we go deep quick. Like we can kind of just be like, okay, we're getting in the zone. There isn't like a whole lot of like noise to get through. We've done it all our lives in some way or another. And now we're just more practiced at having the focus. Like Liz, as soon as she gets on one of those like gongs or whatever, like she goes deep, the whole place goes somewhere else. And it's just how she does things. And so that's part of the shamanic path. And I think what you were talking about, like it rises up to meet you. Like it's not really one that we consciously choose at the beginning of our lives as we think about what we want to be. It's not typically, I'm going to be a shamanic healer and all that comes with it, you know, but it is one that if we are available to answer our own soul's calling and we follow it, it is where we end up. And I love what you were saying about feeling a level of completion around different learnings or different aspects of like gathering information and energies from different teachers. There does come a point, I think, where we've reached like capacity at what we need to know from others. And then we can just sit with the energy of who we are and let that transmit kind of on its own.
Yeah. Yeah.
100%.
I was getting chills when you said that. I don't know why, but yeah, I know that it does. It feels, and I really do feel like it takes a lot of integrity to do this type of work. Like, like if you're really going to do it and like teach people and stuff. And I know you're like this, Margaret, too, because I've looked at, your website and stuff. And it's like, I'm all about like integration and embodiment because we can have all these expansive crazy experiences. We're like, oh, like I saw like my ancestors came and and like I mean I love that part of it too, but if we can't integrate those experiences like in a very practical daily way that's going to really impact our daily life, like that's where I feel like that's where like the maturing kind of comes in, like because there's so many different places we can go with it, and even now, like when I do if I do like card readings or something like that, like my main intention is to support that person like finding their own wisdom and their own like aha moments, instead of just like telling them, oh, this is what I see, and this is how I'm interpreting it. Because like I mean, I know you guys are like this too, but like I feel like because I've been to so many readers and so many, just like over the years, like it's like almost like an addiction. It's like, oh, like I just want to, like I want to try everything, but it's good because I feel like you really see, oh, this is how I want to do it differently. It's like this part of it doesn't feel quite right or like supportive, because like I've had a lot of people, or like readers that just like, were like, oh, this is what's going to happen. And like, this is what you need to do. And then it almost leaves you feeling more confused because you still have to make your own choice, So I don't know. That's just like a big thing I've noticed.
I think anything that can sort of spark our remembering as opposed to something prescriptive when it comes to divining is really important. I also do so many readings, listen to a lot of readers, get a lot of feedback from a lot of people. And it's just so important to be deeply rooted in your own lineage, basically, or your own way of processing shamanic information. Like, I think it is really important. Um, Otherwise, like you were saying, if there's no real landing of anything, or if we're not able to really help people in the present life, which is the one that matters most, then what are we doing? Because yeah,
Yeah.
you could do all kinds of like woo-woo stuff, but if if it's not going to if it's not going to change people, if it's not going to have them, let's say, become more in their bodies instead of less, then that's not what we do. And I think that's what the authentic path around shamanic work is actually about.
Yeah, I was just thinking about kind of like, especially when you're talking about plant medicine, but also just in any practice, I know that Tanya, all three of us come from like yoga teacher backgrounds.
Mm-hmm.
You have the beginning, middle, and end, right? The beginning
Mm-hmm.
is the intention setting, which is kind of that respect, to the ancestors, to the land, to the plants, to the animals. You're like connecting and dropping in.
Yeah.
And then the ending is like you said, the integration piece. Like it's so essential. I've had experiences where I didn't fully have that. So I had to create it myself. And some people who maybe didn't have my background wouldn't know to do that. And they just, who knows what happened to them, or they spiral out or whatever. So I just think that that's really well said. So intention, like so essential to have both of
Yeah.
them kind of bookends.
Right. I mean, I
Yeah.
think there is a true journey. Like if you are taking people really deep and you're going deep, no matter what the modality, there's going to be like a refusal of reentry to an ordinary world, especially for people who have really, again, not really been in a space that has changed or shifted in the way that has made a difference for them moving forward. And so that I find that that is a big piece of what is important. And again, to your point, the connection to the right now moment, the planet we're on, and the body that you're in is kind of what
Yeah.
makes the difference
Yeah.
in the
That's huge.
practice.
And to
Yeah,
each other,
definitely.
and to each other, because
For
like
sure.
if I wouldn't have had the women, especially, but the people in these different experiences to be able to talk about it afterwards, to like openly express everything I went through, just like anything, it's to me, that's how I process is words, whether it's journaling or verbally. And so I think like, yeah, like that's to me what grounds me
Mm-hmm.
and grounds the information. And it continues on to be able to continue connecting with people afterwards that you trust. I think it's really important.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
beautiful. All right. So that is part one of our podcast. Believe it or not, we're gonna be
It's
back.
fast.
We're gonna be back in just a few for part two.